According to the United Nations, there are more than 153 million orphans in the world today, but adoption advocates Gash and Madelene Metcalf are working to decrease that number with the help of two nonprofit organizations, Sweet Sleep and Heart for One. Welcome, ladies, to the Harvest Show.
Thank you.
Okay, so just define for me, because as I was studying and preparing for this interview, I learned some things about what an orphan, the definition of orphan. So would you start off by defining the word orphan for me?
Yes, it's, an orphan is not just a child who's lost both of his parents. Mm-hmm. In fact, the majority of children have not lost both their parents. They are social orphans, and that means that they have loving parents that could care for them if they had the means or the wherewithal to do so.
Okay, so let's start with the nonprofit organization Sweet Sleep. What is the purpose of it, Jen?
Sweet Sleep started 10 years ago after I took a mission trip to Eastern Europe and saw the need that the children in that country's largest orphanage had for beds. And so really for the last 10 years, Sweet Sleep's been providing beds, bedding, Bibles, mosquito nets to children who are orphaned and abandoned around the world.
Mm-hmm. So for an orphan child, what's the significance of a bed? Someone might say, well, aren't there more important things?
Absolutely.
But there really is something special about that, isn't there?
Absolutely. And we've continuously been surprised through the years to see and to really understand the fullness of the impact. At first, it was giving a child a place to call their own, something to feel secure and safe in. And then it moved into providing a bed for a child who would then leave a place that was harmful for them, like a IDP camp. Now we provide beds to children who are HIV/AIDS positive, who are not getting treatment. And so because of their desire to have the bed and the Bible and the mosquito net, they'll literally come out of hiding in areas that are stigmatized where they wouldn't be receiving care and treatment. And they'll come out and register with our indigenous partners. And then they get the bed, the Bible, and the mosquito net, and also the care and the education that they need to live.
Now, where's the highest population or the more concentrated populations of orphans? Where are they located in the world?
India is the world's largest global orphan population, like the largest population of orphans there, of course. Ethiopia, we're doing a lot of work in Ethiopia, and that has the world's 5th largest population of orphans.
And what about Heart for One? That's the organization you founded?
It is. This Heart for One came as a result of all we learned in these last 10 years of caring for the orphan with the bed. We have seen that the bed is a catalyst for change and for improving the lives of these orphans. So Heart for One focuses on putting children into families, using social services, providing vocational training or business capital to a caregiver who could care for a child in the home, and ultimately the child is placed back in the home or the family. It helps prevent child abandonment by keeping the family self-sustaining.
Well, tell me, what difficulties do you run into? Because during my research, I realized that you guys are up against sex traffickers and they're not bona fide organizations. They're criminals who are preying on these orphans.
Absolutely.
How difficult is it for you to get on the ground and get your resources out to the orphans?
You've done some great homework. You're right, and we deal a lot with trafficking, a lot with terrorism. Children will learn whatever you teach them, and so if you have children who don't have a watchful eye over them, then those people who would do harm will come in and scoop up those children for terrorism, for trafficking, things like that. But we work through partners who are on the ground and have the trust with the communities and with the children there. So we've partnered with a lot of global names before and a lot of organizations you've not heard of because they're starting in the communities that we're working in. So when we come in like that, and we really look to our partners and listen to what it is that their needs are, rather than assuming that we would know what their needs are. So we work in very difficult situations, but we've been very blessed to have very capable partners and very just wise indigenous staff in each country that we have work in.
And how many countries have you worked in, and how many beds have been distributed in the 10 years that the ministry's been around?
We have placed beds in 7 countries around the world, and that includes, for the last 3 years, working in the U.S. through the Department of Children's Services in Tennessee, and in the middle of this year we expanded that into Oklahoma as well. And over the last 10 years, we have placed, by the end of this year, will be 20,000 beds.
Wonderful.
You know, here in the United States, you know, we look at those infomercials about orphans and providing food for them, and then once the commercial is gone and it's over with, you know, okay, we send the money, but it really matters, doesn't it? I mean, we can just close and have our eyes and have a good night's sleep. But for those children, you are saving their lives.
Yes, well, through the bed, we've protected the HIV-positive children from diseases that they're so vulnerable to, pneumonia and malaria. And we've been able to domestically place children into families because the bed is a requirement. And it's just, it improves their life. It gives them dignity. It gives them hope. It gives them protection.
What changes have you seen globally over these 10 years when it comes to orphan child care, the models, or maybe some different things that you've seen on how a society or community will embrace and bring in those that are outcast or left behind?
We've seen a lot of changes in what the world looks at and how to care for orphans. And where we were, Sweet Sleep was born in Eastern Europe in a country there called Moldova, and they have been working for years to become part of the EU, the European Union. And so that says you cannot have orphanages in order to be a member of that. So they are in the middle of closing all the orphanages in their country. And so we are working with that, with the government and with partners there to find homes for these children to go into. The bed has been, as Madelene said, a catalyst for that. And then globally, there's just a push. UN members are in agreement to close the orphanages in their countries. And so governments are looking for solutions and trying to figure out what to do. And really, that's where Heart for One was born, because we've just seen the need over this last decade, and we have come around Indigenous partners who have solutions that are working and have been successful in placing tens of thousands of children into families over these last few years.
You know, I'm reminded in Scripture, Psalm 68:5 says that God will be a father to the fatherless and a defender of the widow. Is God in his holy habitation? What have you learned about him, God, that is, as you are doing this type of work for him?
Well, I think for myself that God equips the called, and that not one of us is big enough or strong enough to be the solution, and that only through God will there be a solution, and that God can do just powerful things through you if you just let him.
Now, Jen got engaged by a trip to Eastern Europe and saw this. How did you get engaged with this?
Well, 5 years ago, at Christmas time, I gave the gift of Sweet Sleep to my family. I bought a bed and gave the gift to my parents and my in-laws, and it was watching the video of the story of Sweet Sleep that God really captured my heart, and from there, a mission journey, and just increased my involvement.
Now, where are you based? You live in Tennessee?
Yes, we're in Nashville.
Okay, so you went from Nashville to going around the world and hugging orphans and provide.
I was a stay-at-home mom, yes, and then God called me to this.
Okay, so, and you wanted to provide bedding or beds for children around the world. How much is a bed? What are we talking about here?
Well, they're different in each region where we work. In northern Uganda, they're $50 for a bed. They're because they live in small thatched huts. And
oh, okay.
Yes, and then in Eastern Europe, they're $200. They're kind of wood frames in so between $50 and $200 per child. We provide a bed that fits their living environment and works with their indigenous resources.
Okay.
So obviously they're sourced locally and meet their needs in the country that they're from.
Absolutely.
The kids from. Yeah.
Well, Jen, what's next for Sweet Sleep and Heart for One? Heart One.
We are in the middle of launching the ministry of Heart for One, which is so exciting, and so we've gotten a generous match gift for that launch. In order to we have identified with our partners 1,000 children who are waiting to have parents, waiting for family, and we've identified those 1,000 parents who are caregivers who will take those children in and care for them. But there's a process that they go through with a social worker, with job training, with parenting skills training, and so that process takes time, and all of that takes a lot of work. And so in order to integrate or reintegrate a child into a family, it's about $385, and that's for them to be completely self-sustaining and to be able to just be just whole, just for children to grow up in families the way God intended. So we've got a great match grant right now for $150,000. And so so that's what's next. We're working on raising that, and so we can begin to put these children into families and get them into school and get them into, it's all through the local church, which is important, because it's important wherever you are in the world to have community come around you. So these families love that.
Okay, so Madelene, how can we pray for you, our viewers?
Oh gosh, just pray for our discernment and our guidance as we listen to how God is working through us and allowing us to be a part of this incredible work that He's doing. And and praying for the children who are waiting for their bed, or for the children who are waiting to be called a son or a daughter. Just that God will protect them, and that they'll feel His presence.
Okay, thank you so much, ladies, for joining us. And to connect with Jen and Madelene, go to sweetsleep.org, or you can go to harvest-tv.com and click on show info in the menu bar for a link to sweetsleep.org. Harvest continues in just a moment.